Hello everyone, Ismail is here. Today we're going to learn about 9.4, choosing a method for solving quadratic equations. You can find all lessons on my website. Okay, now if I need to talk about this lessons and the next lesson 9.5 or the whole module 9, the whole module 9 is talking about factoring the quadratic. Okay, we know the quadratic is ax squared plus bx plus c. And we have many ways to find the factor, to find the solutions. So we learned how we can factor, right? And we learned many types of factorings when a is equal 1, when a is equal 2 or 3 or 5 or whatever. Now, I can find the factors or I can find the solutions using something we call it the formula. So we have actually a formula and we can use this formula to find the two solutions. Maybe some of you will ask me, teacher, okay, why you teach or you taught us do factoring and why there is a formula which we can use formula every time so we can get the correct answer, the same answer. Okay, we will learn this in this lesson here. Now, first, let's take these two examples and to see the difference. Solving using the quadratic formula. Now, the quadratic formula, we know that the quadratic formula is x equal negative b positive. Okay, let me write it here on b side. Okay, because I need to write the answer. So x is equal negative b positive negative square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2 times. Okay, so this is the quadratic form. As you can see here, we need let's identify A. A is equal 1. So A is 1, B is negative 6, C is negative 7. Now let's apply the discriminant, which is make my function easy. For AC, B squared is negative 6 squared minus 4 times A, which is 1, times C, negative 7. Simplify now all of this, you will get here 36 minus 4 times 1, 4, 4 times negative 7, which is equal negative 28. So it should be 36, negative with negative will be positive. Now, 36 plus 28. If you don't know how to add, use your fingers, boys. Try to use your finger or try mental math, which means try to separate the numbers, which means I have here 30, okay, 36, and they have here 28. You can do 30 plus 20, which is equal what? 50, right? And they have 6 plus 8, which is equal 40. So 14 plus 50 is equal 64, which is easier than using calculator. So we can write the answer 64. Now the discriminant is equal 64. Now let's apply the formula. Okay, sorry. The formula x equal, okay, negative b, positive negative, square root of what? Square root of 64. So we write square root of 64 over 2 times a. So x is equal negative b, negative b, b is here is given, negative 6, okay, positive or negative. What's the square root of 64? Square root of 64 is 8 over 2 times a is equal 1, which is equal 1. Now let's simplify this one. So x negative with negative, it will be positive 6, positive or negative 8 over 2. Now I will have two solutions. So the first solution with the positive one, so x equal 6 plus 8 over 2, and the other one with the negative x, 6 minus 8 over 2. Now simplify this. 6 plus 8 equal 14 over 2, which is equal 7. Now, 6 minus 8, which is equal negative 2 over 2, which is equal negative 1. Clear? So that's my functions. Now, what shall I do with this two answer? This two answer, I can rewrite them in two brackets. Okay, so the first one, 7 will go here, but with opposite sign. Always take opposite sign. Always take opposite sign, okay? So it will be x minus 7, and here x plus 1. Now, this is how can I, if you now, question B, solve the same equation by factoring. We know that now let me rewrite the question, negative 6 minus 7, which is equal to 0. Now, look to this question here, okay? Let me write the negative one will be here, okay? Now, let's find the factors of negative 7. What are the factors of negative 7? The factors of negative 7 is only 1, negative 7, or negative 1 and 7. Which one can give me negative 8? This two factor can give me negative 6. So now open the two bracket, x, positive 1, and here is negative 7. So now x equal negative 1, here and x is equal 7. Now, look to the question here. What's the solution that I did here? Is it the same thing as you can see here? Is it same thing? Is it same? Yes, it's same. So now, do you see the difference between using quadratic formula and using factoring? Yes. So the quadratic formula, it will take me around 5 minutes to solve it, the questions. The factors, it take me just only 1 or 2 minutes. Okay, sometimes, I will tell you what, sometimes, okay, you can use a quadratic if the number is if the c, which means c is so big numbers, which means c is big, so I can't find the factors of c, so just always use the quadratic formula, will help you a lot to factor. Okay, but if the number c, which is small numbers, okay, just find the factors. And don't forget, look to the questions. Always read the questions. Question said, solve by using quadratic formula. So you have to use a quadratic formula. Solve the same equation by factoring. So you have to factor. It depends on the question. If the question said solve by using any way, you are free to use factoring or the formula. Now, how we can know? If you look here, which one we can use? First, choosing a method to solving quadratics, we have here three. You can just go through one of them. If you can factor it, do so and set the factors equal to 0 and find the zeros, which is, we call this one the best way and easy, fast way. If you can't factor it, okay, and A begin with x squared and B has an even term, even means 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, or whatever, so only even, okay, then complete the square, okay? So now as you can see here, we can do if you can't factor, do the if you can't do the first step, now go to the second step, okay, and if a begins with x squared and b has an even number, so just always complete the square. Clear? Now number three, if if 1 or 2 does not work, means 1 and 2, the point 1 and the point 2. If these two not work, so then use the quadratic formula. So do you see now the quadratic formula? It should be at the last step, which means it's the last thing when your brain is closed. So you can't factor, try to complete square. If you can't complete square, try to use a quadratic formula. Okay? Now, let's take some examples. And here is saying use any method. Now, let's just try to factor the first question here. What are the factors of 10 that can give me 7? Now I have 2, I know 2 at 5 can give me negative 7. It should be negative, negative. So now the first question, it's easy, x minus 2, x minus 5. So now the first one, x equal 2, x equal 5. So that's the first question. It's easy and we can solve. Now, look to this one. So this equation, it's look like a difference, okay, of 2 square. Okay, it's look like difference of 2 square. Now, because if the question is difference of 2 square, we know that if x squared minus y squared, we can open two bracket with different sign, and x should be here, y should be here twice. So now, what's the square root of 25? It's 5 squared. Okay, x squared. Now, what's the square root of 49? It's 7 squared. Now open two bracket. Now, because here 5 squared, so I have to distribute, I have two 5, so 5, 5 here, and I have two x's, so x here and x here, and I have two 7s, so 7 here, so here should be positive, should be negative. Okay, now equal each one with 0, 5x plus 7 equal to 0, and here 5x minus 7 equal to 0. Now, solve this. So first minus 7 for both sides. So 5x equal minus 7, divide by 5, divide by 5. So x is equal negative 7 over 5. Okay, so that's the first x. Now this one here, plus 7 for both sides. So now 5x equal 7, divide by 5, divide by 5. So now x is equal 7 over 5. Okay, so this is the last one. Now, let's try to do question number 3. Let me change the color. Okay, look to the question number 3. It's not in the quadrat or the standard form. So I have here right to rearrange it in standard form. So it will be negative 2 for both sides, negative 2, negative 2. So I cancel this 2 out. So 3x squared minus 4x. Negative 3, negative 2 is equal to negative 5 equal to 0. Now, try to factor this one here. So now if I need to factor this one, let's try what we learned, which means first I need to multiply A with C, okay, and try to factor this. Okay, now 3 times negative 5, which is equal negative 15, right? Okay, so now let's rewrite the question. X squared minus 4x minus 50 equal to 0. Now, what are the factors of negative 15 can give me negative 4? So now we have negative 1 and 15, and we have 1 and negative 15. We have a 3 and 5, negative 5. We have negative 3 and 5. What else? Do we have more? Negative 1, 15. No, no, no more. No more. That's it. So now, can one of these give me negative 4? Let's check. This one will give me 14. This one will give me negative 14. This one will give me negative 2. This one will give me 2. So as I can see, there is no factors I can use to factor these questions. So now I have to change my thinking. If I can't factor, so I have to go to the second step. What was the second step? Remind me, what was the second step? Yes, completing square. But do I have the same, conditions, okay, as I learned here? Okay, let's try now. If you go back here, if you can't factor it, A begins with x squared, B is an even number, then complete the square. Okay, now look here. B is even number, right? But A here is 3. It's not only x squared. But let's try do a complete square. Okay, now what's the completing square? C equal negative, oh sorry, not negative. C B squared over 4A. B squared, which is 4 squared, over 2 times 3. So 4 squared is equal 16 over 2, which is 6. 16 over 6 is equal what? There is, you can divide by 2, divide by 2, divide by 2, which is equal 8 over 3. Now, if you look here, I have a fraction. So I don't need to have a fraction to add it here and to add it here. I can't have a fraction to add the numbers. Okay, so now I have to remove this one. Okay, I have to remove this one and think differently. Now here in these questions, I can't factor using the first way. I can't factor using the second way. So I have to go where? I have to use a quadratic. Now, let's use the quadratic. Now, A here is equal what? A is equal to 3. B is equal what? B is negative 4. C is equal what? Is negative 3. C is negative 3. Now, find the discriminant. B squared minus 4AC. So B squared is negative 4 squared minus 4 times A is equal to 3, times C, which is equal to negative 3. Now 4 squared is equal 16 minus 4 times 3 is equal to 12. 12 times 3, sorry, 12 times negative 3, okay, which is equal 36, but should be, so negative 36, okay, negative 36. Why? Because 4 times 3 is equal to 12, and 12 times 3 is equal 3 times 10 is equal 30, which is 36. Okay, so negative. So now negative with negative, so it will be positive. So 16 plus 36, as I told you, add the numbers. 30 plus 10 is equal 40. 40 plus 12, which is equal 52. Okay, now let's write the quadratic formula. Write it here. Okay, so x equal minus b positive or negative square root of 52 over 2a. So now x is equal negative, b is negative negative 4, okay, positive negative square root of 52. Do I have square root for 52? No, so just keep the square root. 2 times a, which is equal to 3. So now I have two answer. Okay, so the first x is the positive. So negative 4, negative 4 will be 4, positive square root of 52. And 2 times the 3 is equal 6. So this is the first one. Now the second x is equal 4 minus square root of 52 over 6. So this is the second one. Now, do you see now the difference? So this is I factor it very fast. Here is difference of 2 square. Here I use the quadratic formula. So as you can see, it depends on the questions. How about the last question? What do you think? Can I find the two factors of negative 7 give me negative 4? Let's try. So negative 7 factors, there's only one negative 7 or negative 1 and 7. Okay, so I only have these two factors. This one will give me negative 6. This one will give me 6. So now none of these can give me negative 4. Now check the questions. Now if number 1 is not working, okay, I have to try with number 2. Now, A is x squared. That's right. B is even. Yes, that's right. So A is x squared. B is negative 4, which is even number. So I can use this complete of square here. So now let's try. Let's use the complete of square. Okay. How can I use the complete of a square? So to use the complete of a square, first let me change the color on the green. Okay. Now, first, let's plus 7 for both sides, plus 7 plus 7. So now I have x squared minus 4x equal 7. Now, use find c, which is b over 2 squared equal. B squared is 4 squared over 2, which is equal 16 over 2. 16 over 2, which is equal 8. Now let's add 8 for both sides. So now x squared minus 4x equal here 7. So now I have to add 8 for both sides. So plus 8 here, plus 8 here. Now factor this. How can I factor this? So first, 7 plus 8 is equal 15. Now this one, as I told you, squared, always x here. What's the sign here? It's negative. What's the square root of 8? Okay, square root of 8. Okay. Now I can, let's try to solve this one. Okay, you know how to solve this one. Okay, which is you can take square root for both sides. So now the first x here, x minus square root of 8 equal 15. Sorry, positive 15. And here x minus square root of 8 equal negative 50. Okay, you can take the square root to the other side. Okay, if you want, I can do it for you here. Okay, so now it will be x equal negative square root, it will be positive, so negative 15 plus square root of 8. And the other one here, let me write it for you here, x equal positive square root, the positive 15 positive square root of 8. So this is the two answers. So I have here four different questions, four different answers. I hope you understand. If you have any question on any of them, you can ask me. Now try to solve this one by using any method. So as I told you, first try to factor. If you can factor easily, that's correct. If you can't factor, go to complete by square. So try to complete by square if you can. Now use the quadratic formula. Okay. That's it for today. You can now try to solve these type of questions and also try to solve these. And that's it for 9.4. If you have any questions, just ask me. Have a good day. Bye bye.